Hey guys, what's going on? Inception here and welcome to another video. Today we're going to be doing a review for the Premier League midfielders. Hopefully the mic is now fixed so you guys don't hear all that popping sounds that have been in previous videos. I hope that I fixed this for the streams as well. I'm sorry that I haven't streamed, I believe it's today or this is the next day because I'm streaming this at nighttime, or I'm doing this video at nighttime. I'm sorry that I didn't stream the other day for the FUT Champs games. I'm going to try to complete the 23 games that I have left. So I can create content for you guys and all that fun stuff. I just had a really good time with my family. I posted on Instagram, like we were just like listening to music and just chill with each other, and it was really fun. So that's why I didn't really want to hop on and like ruin that vibe. So hopefully tomorrow we can get some games in and be able to post some content for you guys. But today we are going to be doing the review for the Premier League players. Right now we're going to be doing it for the cams, the center mids, and the CDMs. Now, for the cams, center mids, and CDMs, there are some players that you can use in different types of positions, depending on what your play style is, and so on and so forth, right? So, first off, we're going to start with Kevin De Bruyne. Now, because the pace in this game isn't as relevant as it used to be in previous years, especially for the attackers, right? It's more. Pace not being relevant is more for the attackers than it is for the CDMs. Pace is still very, very relevant for the CDMs, right? Because of how it works in this game. And we'll get to that in a bit. So high work rates with Kevin De Bruyne is fantastic for a midfielder, especially for a cam, right? 77 pace, again, not a big issue. If you look at his dribbling stats, his agility and balance is low, so obviously you're going to want to give him a sniper to increase his finishing as much as possible with that 5-star weak foot, right? He has a composure of 88, so you want to increase that composure and all that stuff too. I don't believe that the chemistry styles increase the player cards as much as they say they do, because it basically says that he gets a plus 15 in the finishing department, and I don't know if that's actually necessarily true, because we've seen how many times players miss very easy 1v1s. But I would still give him a sniper regardless, because the pace being upgraded is just not relevant this year, right? Like, it's not really worth trying to get through on goal, especially with your central cam, if you don't have the pace. You still want to try to get pace. You still want to get players like Ronaldo and stuff, because those guys already have the pace, but you want to give them chemistry styles that work on their dribbling and shooting for the attackers mostly, because that's the most important thing in the game. So with De Bruyne's card, he has very good shooting stats. His passing stats are phenomenal, obviously. And dribbling stats, the only thing that's really missing is agility and balance, because he does have very, very good physical stats, right? He has 75 strength, 76 aggression, while being 5'11". So he's a pretty tall guy. He's not like tall, like over 6 foot, but 5'11" is a fantastic height to have in the midfield, while being that strong with a sniper card that should increase his agility and balance a little bit more with better shooting stats. So this is a fantastic card. If you guys saw one of my drafts I was using Kevin De Bruyne in, he's disgusting. He does a lot of work for you in the team. His dribbling is very good. His passing is phenomenal. His shots are very, very good as well. So definitely worth trying out. N'Golo Kante. So N'Golo Kante is possibly one of the best CDMs in the game. Now, he does cost, I believe, 340k or so, if I am not mistaken, and the game servers might have just lagged out. Nope. So he's like 300k right now on bid, so I can't even like check to see if he's actually 300k, because people usually, I don't even have around 300k. I have like 44, so I can't really check. But N'Golo Kante's card is phenomenal this year. Like, when I say phenomenal, I mean his 5'6" height. The only reason why it's a problem is because of the 50-50 jumping on the air. But anything that has to do with ground play, this guy is absolutely disgusting to have in a team for defensive presence, especially since defensive AI is so effective. This guy is an absolute god. I actually didn't check Kante's card that much before, I believe it was yesterday or 2 days ago. I was in a streamer's streamer's channel, and he was it was rated Hugo, and he was using Kante, and I was asking him how was Kante, and then I saw Kante's base card stats, and I'm like, wow, I think he got significantly improved from last year, because if you look at his attribute details, right, as a CDM, this card's fantastic, right, because he's 5'6", his center of gravity is not crazy. So with 82 agility and 92 balance, with 82 acceleration and 78 sprint speed, this card's amazing, right? Like, he's going to defend for you like a god, because he's going to move around the pitch moving left and right with him is not going to be an issue at all. He's going to do that without any problem. He's not going to feel heavy at all, right? Fantastic defending stats and sign tackles, interceptions especially. Strength is there, aggression's there, stamina's there, his jumping's there. Like, this card is phenomenal to have in a team. 77 jumping is actually decent considering he's 5'6", right? Like, you wouldn't expect that he can jump at least with a 77, but obviously I'd probably give him an anchor card because his physical stats are already pretty improved, and his defensive stats is the most important thing to improve. But if you really feel like that pace is important to run back into position, you may want to give him a shadow card because his physical is already pretty nice. But his height could be a problem. So try out shadow or try out or try out anchor to see which one works out for you. So those are the expensive players. We're also going to be reviewing the lower tier players. Idrissa Gueye. So Idrissa Gueye, people say that Idrissa Gueye is like the cheap Conte. In a way, he is, because similar in respect to agility, balance, acceleration, sprint speed, right? Like, he has a good balance between the two where he can move left and right really nicely. And he does do that, right? But defensively, he doesn't offer as much as someone like Conte. Obviously, not. It's hard to make the comparison. But Conte's stats, right, and his traits just makes him an absolute god, right? Because having over 90 interceptions, like, for me personally, when it comes to FIFA cards, I always feel like FIFA cards usually play more to their base card stats more than they do to the chemistry style you're upgrading them with, right? So with Idrissa Gueye's card, he was okay, right? Medium high work rates, 5'9", so he is a little bit taller than Conte by a very small amount. But I feel like he doesn't have enough defensive qualities to make up for anything, to be honest. Like, when I was using this card, I just didn't feel like I was doing anything with him. But with Ndidi, for some reason, I guess because the height was a big deal with him, it actually felt like I was doing something decent with him. Is Idrissa Gueye a good card to get in the beginning? Yeah, because when I bought this card, I think I bought him for 2,200. You can't go wrong with Idrissa Gueye for 2,200 in the beginning of FIFA, right? Barkley, I got Barkley's a 5-star weak foot, 4-star skill move, so that he's a fun card to use, but no defensive stats whatsoever. So if you're going to be using him as a center mid, that's not going to be an ideal situation at all. His finishing stats are low, and as you know, finishing in this game is really bad, so not an ideal card to use, but he's got a fun concept working for him, right? 5-star weak foot, 4-star skill moves, 6'2", while being 68 agility, 60 balance, so his movement on the ball isn't going to be great, so on and so forth. Adam Lallana, I think this card is actually from the SBC. Now, with this card, you would probably want to give an anchor to if you're going to be using him as a center mid, because, again, defensive prowess in this game is really important. Because here's the thing with this card, right? If you give him an anchor, you'll increase his defending physical and pace, because his shooting is already pretty good. If you look at his player bio, he's 5-star weak foot with 4-star skill moves. So that's actually pretty nice. And then his agility is 81, and his balance is 78. So again, there's a good balance there as well. So you can see it's actually the bottom left that he's a foot swap deals rewards player. This card actually looks quite really nice, right? If you can possibly get him as a loan card to see exactly how he plays in game, I feel like this card would have a lot of potential because he actually has good shooting stats, good composure for being a midfielder, but his defending and physical stats are kind of low. So try to see if there's anything that can actually change that, because he is 5'10", high work rates, and yeah, that's really nice to have in FIFA in general, right? This is a card that people wanted me to use, which was Moussa Dembele. Moussa Dembele looks like a card that's worth trying out. My only problem why I didn't try this card out was because of the stamina being 70. In this game, if you play foot champs, right, I feel like most people have already realized that you need to have as much stamina as you possibly can with cards, because every single game you need 99, right? Because if you have lower than 99, like let's just say you have like 94, 93, that's usually what you get after playing like one game. You definitely notice that the players are significantly more tired by the end of the game than they are like in the 70th minute, so on and so forth, right? So it's a big reason why I haven't tried out this card. But is it worth trying out other than the stamina part? Yeah, because I think if you give him Anchor, I don't think Anchor actually improves his stamina stat. I don't think they actually showed that at all. I have it for Idrissa Gueye, so you could see that it actually does not touch his stamina, right? With wow, I just completely forgot which card I was checking. Moussa Dembele. With this card though, it has a lot of potential to be very good because he has crazy strength while being 6'1", right? And I feel like his physical presence, along with his acceleration, sprint speed, agility, and balance, is actually quite nice considering that he is 6'1". So definitely a card that's worth trying out. This is a Champions League rare card, but his other card's very similar, right? Um, it's worth trying out, right? Like maybe the stamina won't bother you as much, but for me personally, I feel like I definitely need to have people with better stamina. Because if you look at Idrissa Gueye, he has 87. Fabinho, very similar, has 93, right? If I look at Ander Herrera, same thing, 87. So, and these guys, the thing about having high stamina with these guys is that you still notice that it's kind of low, which is interesting, right? Jorginho, I actually tried out in the draft, and I actually had a fun time using this card, right? Again, lacking in the defensive and physical department, but he's a fun card to use. But I would say good luck using fun cards in this FIFA right now because there's not really like casual game modes right now. He has 4-star skill moves, which I noticed when I was playing draft with him. I was like, oh my god, he actually has skill moves. Because 4-star is like the bare minimum because the 3-star stuff just doesn't really matter, right? 3-star weak foot, which kind of sucks, but still a really fun card to use. And DD, another cheap beast to use, but once you hit those top divisions and you get to foot champs, that agility and balance very, very noticeable on the card. He's just very heavy on the ball. His passing in general is okay, but his dribbling is really, really awful. And you could definitely feel it even when he receives the ball. He's a good cheap card to get because his defending physical and pace part is decent, but it's just the control on the ball. It just takes too long to do stuff with him, and I'm just not necessarily a fan of that. Paul Pogba. One thing I want to say about this card, man, and this is not for the CDM position, but maybe it could be. It would be something that you would have to try out. This card with high-low work rates, I've never seen work rates on a card more irrelevant than on Pogba's card because he has high-low work rates. But when I use this card in the draft, oh my god, this card is disgusting in comparison to all other midfielders in this game. He is stupid good. I thought they screwed up his card, man. But this card is so he has no defensive stats, but he still defends better than people who do have defensive stats. And you know why? Because of his physical capabilities and because of his 6'3" height. He's just ridiculous, man. Especially since you could definitely put like a shadow card on him because honest to God, you don't need to improve that physical. Let's be real. Because to be honest, as a center mid or a CDM, his composure's pretty nice. His finishing does suck, in all fairness, but I don't know, man. If you're gonna be using him as a CDM, having a player that can dribble, pass, and shoot, have the physical presence, even though he's high-low work rates, like there could be a good balance between having like a Conte and a Pogba in those CDM areas because this card's so stupid. It's so good. It's ridiculous, man. When I was using it in the draft, I was like, dude, I could put Pogba as my striker. Like that's how good he actually is in this game. So Keita, Naby Keita has 4-star, which is fun to use, high medium. So you're kind of forced to use him as a center mid. Can't really use him as a CDM like Liverpool sometimes uses him in real life. No defensive capabilities, somewhat physical in aggression, but no strength. So again, another fun card to use. His dribbling on the ball obviously is going to be fantastic because his agility and balance is very good, as well as his acceleration. But other than that, his finishing is okay too for as someone if you do want to put him as a CDM. But I wouldn't necessarily recommend this card. Again, movement wise, he's going to be fantastic. Passing wise, is actually pretty decent too. So to be honest, this is a card that you definitely need to try out. It's hard to really judge it without actually playing the game because pace works differently. But I really feel like you're going to notice those defensive stats, especially since he is 5'8", right? So that's the starting 11. We have some more players on the bench over here. Dele Alli is a player that people have recommended to me a lot so far in this year's game, and he is definitely a trying out type card because, again, with Pogba, he doesn't have any defensive stats, right? But he could be very good defensively, especially if you give him like a shadow card as well, because, again, physical is pretty decent already. He has 71 strength, but 71 strength with 6'2" height and a pretty good physical stature in game is already pretty nice, right? High medium work rate, so you're a little bit forced to use him as a center mid and cam. No 4-star weak foot, which to be honest doesn't even suck that much. 4-star, a 4-star weak foot, you know what I've noticed? 4-star weak foot sucks more only because of passing, more than it is for shooting, because shooting across goal is not consistent anymore. So which really sucks in certain areas, not all areas. Like I get it in certain areas, FIFA 18, but in certain areas they should be able to score them. But anyways, regardless, because you can't, the 4-star weak fit's not a big deal. It's more of a big deal just to pass the ball with it. But another very, very good card. Mkhitaryan, again, he was cheap beast to use. Well, not cheap. I actually don't think he's cheap. I think he's actually like 30-something K. 13K. So I don't know if you would consider that cheap, right? But I personally didn't like using this card because it's like I said, guys. These cards, man, they play to they play closer to their base card stats than whatever the chemistry style tells you. Because slapping a hunter on this card should have made him significantly better, right? But it really didn't, especially in the pace. Like, I did not notice that he was 95. 95 acceleration with 87 agility and 85 balance is very, very noticeable, and it just wasn't with this card. So again, that's why I don't really think chemistry style is like too crazy. But I think he's medium work rate, so that could also be a big problem in terms of being a cam because his movement is just kind of like stagnant. 5-star weak foot's nice, 4-star skill move, so a card that is worth trying out for sure, absolutely, but not really for me. High work rates with Lingard. So the only really real position you can use him is as a cam. High work rates is nice for a center mid, but he's lacking in the physical and defense. But he is 5'9" with good agility and balance. So on the ball, he's pretty decent too. Just drink some water. Composure is 85, which is surprising because a lot of players that are way better at finishing than he is have less composure. But I digress. Phred I actually tried out in this game. I actually really enjoy using Phred for what he is. But the one thing that I am going to say, and this is something that I noticed, height with lack of defense and physical is a big problem, right? So he has 72 physical because of his stamina and jumping. But other than that, you definitely notice the lack of defense and physical. But is he a fun card to use? Yeah, this guy is really awesome to use. Like when I had him in the draft, I think I had him in it was like a 4-3-2-1, and he was my left center mid. And he was really fun to use, but I wouldn't necessarily recommend him for meta because he's just too small with no defensive or physical capabilities, but really, really fun card to use in my opinion. Kovacic is honestly, he could have potential to try out, but this card was like 30-something K, I think, when the game came out. I could be over-exaggerating, but right now he's like 14K, so maybe I'm not really sure, but I think he was like pretty expensive because I may have packed him. I think I only sold him for like 20K, so I could be wrong. I think it was like around 20K, but pretty decent card as well. Jordan Henderson, I think, is medium-high, possibly. He's not high. Just ruined his card. 67 pace. Like I was going to say in this video, the pace is more relevant for the CDMs to get back into position to defend properly. But the attack is more about the dribbling and opening up space that way. Because being through on goal means nothing in this game. You can have 99 acceleration sprints, but you can have Usain Bolt, and your grandma will catch up to these players. So it's better to have the dribbling and the shooting for the attacking midfielders. But for the defensive midfielders, having the pace being improved is a big deal. And because Jordan Henderson doesn't really have that much, he will play more to his basic chem style, and it just won't really play that well. Ander Herrera is okay, to be honest. Not ideal for a CDM because of the high work rates, with not enough good defensive and physical stats to make up for the high work rates. Because that's the thing, right? You have to have certain stats that make up for the lack of certain things that you have. It's like Mane, right? So with Mane's card, Mane has a fantastic card, but he lacks in physical. But because he has fantastic dribbling stats, his shooting is very good, his composure is pretty decent, compared to, again, 1v1 finishing for FIFA. He's a pretty good card, right? Fernandina I used myself. Wasn't a huge fan of his pace, again, because of the CDM being out of position and having to put him back into position. Wasn't a huge fan of this card. He lacks in the height department because he doesn't have enough defensive and physical stats to make up for the lack of height. But 4-star weak foot, medium high, I definitely noticed those two things. He was in a decent position in the medium high aspect, right? Not necessarily the attacking aspect, because sometimes he attacked very awkwardly and I didn't really enjoy that too much. But with Fernandinho's card, he's definitely worth trying out, but at the same time not really, because I think he's worth like 30K or so, and he's worth even more nowadays, which is crazy. So depends on if you think that's worth it. OxladeChamberlain with 85 pace, no defensive capability. So again, you could probably, the thing about this card actually it's interesting because you can use him as a cam, but you definitely 100% need to upgrade that finishing, right? So his dribbling is already pretty decent with 81 agility and 88 balance. This is more of a fun card to use, not necessarily an ideal card to use, but he looks okay. Medium high work rates. Oh, I was about to say medium high work rates on Oxlade-Chamberlain. That's just weird. But 4-star, 4-star on this card would make it a lot of fun if EA gave us like an online tournament mode of World Cup where it's just like, oh, well, you guys can just go play for fun. And then I could just use Oxlade-Chamberlain and try him out and see how good he is. Christian Eriksen. I've hated Christian Eriksen so much over the years, guys. Like, I've absolutely despised this card. Every time I got him, I just wanted to quick sell him. Even in my drafts, when I got him in the drafts, I wanted to cry because he was so terrible. However, this year, he could be very good. He's really, really lacking in the pace. Like, really lacking. But if you give him a sniper card and you improve that finishing, agility, balance, and composure, the shooting outside the box with him will be phenomenal. 5-star weak foot. Okay, so if you're on the right side or the left side, you can cut inside and finesse shot, and he'll probably be really good at doing it, especially since he has 89 long shots, right? And probably has the finesse shot trait. You need to actually check that because finesse shot trait is a very big deal this year, right? A phenomenal card, man. High medium, definitely worth trying out, but I think he's well worth over 100k if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, he's like 150k, so it's crazy, man. Like, people don't care about the pace, bro. It's because the dribbling and the shooting is more important this year. Cerie I used in a draft, but I didn't really use him fairly because I was using him as a CDM because I didn't want to use him as a center mid at all. His general movement moving left and right is very good because you can tell that his agility, balance, acceleration, sprint speed is pretty decent considering that he is 5'6". So moving left and right with him will be very good. 4-star weak foot, definitely noticed that when I was playing with him in the draft as well. But the high medium work rates is just not ideal for someone who is 5'6". That just doesn't really offer anything else for you. But again, cheap beast. And then last but not least, we got Lanzini. If I forgot about anybody, guys, like someone like NDD. NDD, I think I actually got as my center back, so he's right there. Lanzini is the last person. Lanzini, cheap option to get. 3-star weak foot, 4-star skill moves. If you want to have fun with the card, I wouldn't recommend having the fun concept in your minds because division rivals and foot champs. But with this card, it would be okay. It would be a fun card to use because his agility and balance is already very good, obviously. I'd probably just slap a hunter on him or a sniper again because his acceleration is very good. His sprint speed is very good. But as long as you can improve that composure and that finishing, I feel like those are the most important stats. But that is going to conclude the video for today, guys. If I missed out on anybody, I do apologize for that. But I hope you guys did enjoy the video today in terms of my review for the players. I had to play this game a little bit to realize what specific stats were still very relevant, and it's still very similar to last year, but the only thing that's the big difference nowadays is that pace is more relevant for the CDMs than it is for the cams. If your cam doesn't have pace, I wouldn't worry about it too much. I would really focus on improving his dribbling as much as possible because those little quick cuts is what's going to separate you from scoring a goal and not scoring a goal. So that is going to conclude the video for today, guys. I hope you guys did enjoy it. If you guys enjoyed it, please drop a thumbs up on it. It definitely helps out the channel a lot, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.